guys. Welcome to 6 Minutes for Tuesday, July 12th. It is Fargo week, and we are talking 16U men. Just an FYI, because I want to make sure that everybody knows this. This is actually being recorded ahead of time because I'll be traveling up to Fargo. So I want to go ahead and kind of make sure that I make mention that, weights change, kids drop on and off rosters and things along those lines. The information I pulled together is based upon all the rosters that were dropped by USA Wrestling. And we've already seen a ton of changes in terms of weights and everything else. So this is kind of our best guess as it relates to where we might see the 16U men and their weights heading into this weekend. But you know, it's still a good idea. Remember, the idea behind these previews is not to make any predictions. It's not to say who's going to win or who's going to make the podium or anything like that. The idea is simply to highlight the different individuals who have had past achievements, past success, mostly at Fargo. But, if they happen to be ranked or if they, performed well at, say, junior duels or cadet duels or, maybe the U.S. Open or something like that. It'll give you some idea of who those individuals are. And then, we're here to talk about the Southeast. So it will focus on making sure we include some kids, certainly not everyone. We have 6 states and tons of them. But it might give you an idea of who to kind of keep an eye on. We wish all of them the best of luck. But the tournament is deep, and it's going to be a grind to make sure that you get to the top 8. So the last thing I would say is this. I've combined freestyle and Greco kind of into one. I mean, this is just an overview of the different weight classes. There's no way in the world that I know the different levels of the kids who are exceptionally good in Greco versus the kids who are exceptionally good in freestyle, and not going to take the amount of time to talk about a Greco one versus a freestyle one. This is a combination of both those. Probably leans towards freestyle, which is what everyone kind of has a tendency to do. Although I've included all the Greco All-Americans on here because, you need to keep that in context as well. They're going to make a run not only in Greco to the top step, but many of them are going to be in the hunt for a spot on the podium in freestyle. So many of them wrestle double anyway. They wrestle both styles anyway, that parsing it out would be almost redundant anyway in talking about many of these kids. So anyway, let's jump into it. Let's talk a little bit about the 88-pounders. And as you can see at the top, the last year's freestyle 88-pound champion in 16U was Javon Yarborough, and Greco is Hakan Peterson of Wisconsin. And what we see below is basically a list of names of kids who have kind of stood out. It's hard. It's hard without any background. Nathan Rue of Indiana is the only one that I know of that was an All-American a year ago in 16U. I should have put freestyle or Greco. I'll have to look that up and let you know which one. But obviously he's one that you should pay attention to. And then from there on, it really is, looking at some of the wrestlers who performed primarily really well at cadet duels, or maybe, if I know the information, wrestled well at kids nationals in the past or something like that. So Kayshawn Schreier from Missouri, Jarrett Smith from Michigan, all names that I think you'll recognize and you should pay attention to. The one Southeast kid that I have down on the list is Jose Cordero. I think Jose was maybe 7-2 at cadet duels or 16U duels. I think one of his losses was to Charles Esposito, who is also on this list. So watch out for Jose. Certainly an opportunity to make the podium at 88 pounds. All right, jumping up to 94. Mack Mauger from Idaho was the champ a year ago in both styles. It'll be really interesting to see who replaces Mack, because I don't think Mack's back in this field. If he is back at 16 years, he's bigger than 94 pounds. Obviously, your Greco champ, and I think he was your freestyle runner-up a year ago. Yeah, it says, I'm sorry, it says it on there. Hakan Peterson is got to be your favorite coming in. I would think so. Cole David Heiser from Pennsylvania was also a freestyle and Greco All-American in 16U a year ago. He's definitely one to watch. And then, again, you have a list of names that I've watched a few of them wrestle a few matches. But I did watch Peterson wrestle a ton of matches, especially at Elite 8 not that long ago. In my opinion, definitely one of the favorites heading in. All right, let's jump up to 100 pounds. And as you can see, last year's champ in freestyle was Seth Mendoza. Lane Kleiman from Utah was the Greco champ. And we pretty much have... this is an interesting weight class for me because we have two... Revan Dickman and Lawson Eller, who were both freestyle and Greco All-Americans last year in 16U. You have a 16U Greco All-American and Cole Welty of Nebraska. And you have someone who's ranked number 20, Carter Pearson. And I think these are the flow rankings that were put up by USA Wrestling. So Carter Pearson from Iowa. But your favorite might be your Floridian, Lincoln Sled Zanowski, who had a super 16U. I think he had a really good U.S. Open, he's been on fire. So definitely one to watch. Other names that kind of jump out at me as far as down the list: Slater Hicks. I know he wrestled Lincoln really tough from California. He's going to be one to watch. Isaiah Harrison from Colorado, and then you see down close to the bottom, William Phillips from Tennessee. It's a deep weight class. 100 pounds is not going to be easy to make the top 8, but William, I think, has a real legit shot to break through as well. All right, jumping over to 106. Last year's champ in freestyle, Anthony Knox. Greco, Anthony Ruzick from Illinois. Knox is back, but he will be up a weight. So that opens up 106 to... well, it opens it up to several individuals, and this is a great weight class. 106 pounds is fantastic. Seth Mendoza is number 6 at 106. He was last year's 16U freestyle champ down a weight, I think at 100 pounds. Zane Donnelly was a junior 100-pound freestyle champ. Coulter Burton was a junior Greco champ and was also a junior freestyle All-American. So jumping up to juniors, not, in that level of competition, we've got a lot of 16Us here in this bracket who have that ability and have already proven that they can do it on this stage. Aaron Seidel, number 3 at 106, ranked ahead of Seth Mendoza. He was also a 16U All-American. And Isaiah Cortez from California, who's ranked number 10 at 106. And those are the top 5. And then you have a ton. Like you have, 8 wrestlers that were either freestyle and Greco, or Greco All-Americans a year ago. And all of them should be in the hunt for a spot on the podium. Moses Mendoza, to me, from California, pops off, as somebody to really watch. And then, down in the very bottom of this, there's a list of names, definitely people who have had some really good springs, and included in that group is Liam Davis from Florida, who has a shot to make the top 8 at 106. All right, 113, last year's freestyle champ, Leo DeLuca from New Jersey, Greco, Austin Laudenbach from Minnesota. And as you see, I already made mention of him. Anthony Knox is back he's back in 16U, up at 113, in what should be a really great weight class. Again, the level of depth at 113 in 16U is fantastic. Knox comes in number 1 ranked at 113. He is the champ, as I mentioned previously. Dragan O'Ryan is number 4 at 113, and he was a freestyle All-American. You also have 4 others. Excuse me. You have 4 others who are ranked as well. So Edwin Sierra, Jake Hockaday, Elijah Cortez, and our own for North Carolina, Cam Stinson, are ranked and in the field according to the latest rosters. And then you have two freestyle All-Americans down at juniors, or up at juniors, and one Greco All-American also on the field. And that's not the end of it. 113 also features Cooper Hilton from Tennessee, who is going to be super tough to beat. I think he's right there with the top of this crew, the top 113s, and he is definitely going to make a run in trying to compete for the top spot as well in the top 8. Actually, the Southeast has quite a few. If you look down below, Carson Duple, also from Tennessee, Sebastian De Janeiro from Florida. You got Stone Phillips and Brody Christmas from Alabama. So a lot to watch if you're following along for the kids from the Southeast. There should be a lot in a super tough, deep weight class. So that's 113. Let's jump up to 120. And as you can see, Adrian Meza from Arizona won freestyle last year. Cale Lairdson, boy, super tough. Won it in Greco. And just like Knox moved up a weight class, we see that Leo Deluca moved up a weight class. He was 113 champ last year, and he's now up here at 120. Number 10, ranked number 10 at 120. And he's got just an unbelievably great weight class. Is this the best weight class in 16Us? I think you could make an argument that it is. Sam Herring from PA, former Tennessee kid, was a freestyle runner-up a year ago. I think he lost to Knox in the finals, and was a Greco All-American. And then we've got Bo Bassett, who is a cadet world champ, also in the field. Louis Gill, number 4 at 106. Marcus Blaze, number 9 at 120, and also a 16U freestyle All-American. And then you have, seven others that made the podium a year ago. And another thing I want to make sure that I point out is that I'm only capturing those that made the podium a year ago. If you made the podium 2 years ago, I haven't gone all the way back to pull all those kids. So probably a lot of overlap in names, but who knows? Maybe there's somebody out there that has made the podium previously, either didn't wrestle last year or didn't make the podium last year and is now back in the field. So keep that in mind. Gage Botero, Jackson Bloom, Matthew Martino from Idaho was a Greco runner-up a year ago, as was Trey Wagner. And then, we've got a few Southeast kids that you should really keep an eye on. Jarvis Little from Tennessee, super tough. Christian Fretwell from Florida is going to be in the hunt. Guarantee that he'll be amongst the crew that is making a run for a top 8 spot. And Jaden Morris from South Carolina. All three could make some noise this weekend, but they have their work cut out for them, because 16U at 120 is no joke. All right, 126 pounders. Kyler Larkin from Arizona was last year's freestyle champ. Mason Gibson was last year's Greco champ from Pennsylvania. And 126 is super different than 120. Not that it's any easier, but far fewer accolades from previous years. Landon Robidoux from Minnesota is ranked at 126, but we only have a pair of Greco All-Americans from previous years. Elias Nevada from California, who was a junior Greco runner-up, and Phoenix Contos from Ohio, who was a 16U Greco All-American. I think they're the only ones. And I could have missed somebody. I should go ahead and make sure that I say that. It's definitely possible that I miss counting, because there's a lot of athletes out there and everything else. It doesn't mean that this weight class is not as good as, say, the 113 or the 120, but it means that it's open. There's some opportunities that exist. Now, you look at some what has happened and some wrestling that has occurred over the last several months, and there are definitely names that pop out. Ben Davino from Illinois, some of our Florida kids, Moore and Colin Cassina, as well as North Carolina's Charleston Baglio, Will Anderson from Alabama. They all have a shot to make some noise and jump into the top 8. expect some really, really interesting, some great matches at 126, definitely. All right, up to 132, where we have Zach Hanson from Minnesota, was the freestyle and Greco champ a year ago. And 132 is another really, really good weight class. You know, I think you could look at probably the top three, maybe the top four. Maddox Shaw, definitely. Freestyle All-American, 16U, number 12 at 126. Grayson Clark, who is a junior freestyle All-American a year ago, number 19 at 132. And Brock Mantanona, who was a 16U freestyle runner-up and is ranked number 20 at 126, are all in the field. I haven't watched Tyson Charmoli of Minnesota compete. I have to watch the other three compete. And it looks like those four are going to be definitely four to watch. Below that, boy, we've got a lot going on. And I'm going to spend some time talking about, obviously, the Southeast kids. But if you look below the Southeast kids, I watched Gunnar Andrick wrestle in person several times. Super tough kid from West Virginia. He'll definitely be in the hunt. You've got Fellers from Iowa, Haynes from Washington. There's a lot of others. Our Southeast kids, Deshaun Poe from Alabama, Kaysen Rourke from Tennessee. I think Kaysen was, one match away from being on the podium a year ago. Definitely back and definitely one to watch. Landon DeSalle, his teammate from Tennessee, also there. Nate Askew from Georgia, Tennessee kid, Baylor, but Georgia during this part of the year. Noah Danforth from Georgia. And then last but not least, Anderson Heap, who put in the work this over the duels. He went to cadet duels, wrestled exceptionally well. Then went to junior duels, wrestled well, but junior is a different level. And I think that those types of experiences can only give him a lot of confidence heading into Fargo. So definitely keep an eye on those Southeast kids. Another deep weight class with Southeast talent that should be in the hunt for a spot on the podium. All right, 138. Boy, I'm not sure there was a better 16U wrestler a year ago than Joel Adams from Nebraska. Freestyle champ, Greco champ, and this weight class is going to be lights out. This weight class is going to be superb come Saturday afternoon. Headlined by Vince Bazakis from Pennsylvania, 16U freestyle All-American a year ago, ranked number 14 at 138. If you jump two down, PJ Duke, who's ranked number 7 at 138. Fantastic, super tough. Those two are definitely ones to watch. We've got a couple of Greco. Well, Gabriel Bousseau from Rhode Island was both a freestyle and Greco All-American in 16U. And Garrett Reese from Colorado was also a Greco All-American. A couple names that, again, we start off with some of our Southeast there, but we'll jump below them a little bit. Down below, you've got, there's no way in the world I'm going to be able to pronounce the Iowa kid's name, but I've seen him wrestle. He's super tough. Alex Braun from Minnesota is super tough. I threw Gavin Linsman on from Missouri because I watched him wrestle. I thought he was tough as well. And then our Southeast kids, again, Logan Paradise. He should be in the hunt and should definitely be hunting one of the top 8 spots, definitely at 138. Elvis Solis from Florida, I think he lost to Bazakis by a point at duels. He's got to be considered. Johnny Maldonado, Jack Garrett from Georgia, just a few other names from the Southeast that you might want to keep an eye on. And I should take a moment here and just stop for a second and remind everyone, I would love to list all the Southeast kids who are going to compete and everything else. But these weight classes in 16U, specifically in 16U men, are 64, 78. I mean, they're 90 kids. I mean, they're big. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you an idea of who are those that are coming back who already have accolades, and then who has the best shot, I think, at making a run based upon their past experience and past performance, especially at duels in Fargo a year ago and so on and so forth, to make that top 8. That doesn't mean that somebody else who I haven't mentioned isn't going to make a run and make the top 8. It also might be one of those things where they go 3-2 or 4-2, and that's a really, really good tournament with some quality wins over some really tough individuals. So keep in mind the perspective of what I'm trying to say when I'm kind of highlighting these different names. All right, so 145, William Henkel from Connecticut is a freestyle champ. Pearson Manville from Pennsylvania was the Greco champ a year ago. And, this is 145 is a really interesting weight for me because there's only one, from what I could find, one returning All-American. And that was in Greco, 16U, Gabriel Delgado from Nevada. Colin Rath is listed on the Pennsylvania roster. He's number 13 at 138. Definitely one to watch, as is his teammate Owen McMullen from Pennsylvania. And then you've got a whole host of others. Again, Christopher Acuna from Montana is somebody I've watched wrestle and has competed. I could go through a number of different. I watched Bo Hickman from Oklahoma, but let's stick with the Southeast kids that I think have a real shot. Kate Parent and Emil Necula both wrestled well at duels. I believe it was Cade, not Jace. Sorry, guys, if I mixed that up. But definitely two to keep an eye on from the state of Georgia. And then down at the bottom, you see Hunter Sturgill. And I think Hunter has a real shot to make an impact and break through and break into the top 8 at 145 as well. All right, 152. Boy, if you didn't see Zach Ryder wrestle a year ago, you missed out. He was just superb in his run to the title in freestyle. Arvin was the champion in Greco, and I'm not going to try to say the last name. Sorry, Arvin, if you were watching. But those are the two that won it a year ago. And 152, again, is another weight class that's really interesting. And again, context, right? So you have 2 freestyle All-Americans, and Travis Grace from California and Alicio Parrington from New Jersey. They both return. And you got Ladarian Lockett, who I watched wrestle at Elite 8 again, number 10 ranked at 152. And those 3 kind of stand out at the top, right? And then you've got a whole host of others down below. Bass Diaz, former Florida kid, now in Iowa. And then, again, Colin McAllister from Kansas, Demarion Ross from Iowa, Mitchell Younger from Oklahoma. But the 2 that stand out for me, and I think they have a real shot to make the top 8, are Max Norman from Tennessee and Claudio Torres from Florida. CJ Torres, I don't know if he was unbeaten at cadet duels or not. Max Norman, I know was, I think in both styles. And yeah, they should make a run. We could have quite a few on the podium from the Southeast in 16Us. So you should feel really. That should be really good. Means I'm going to be really busy out getting videos and taking pictures and such. So, all right, 160. Louis Soricho of New Jersey was your freestyle champ. Liam Scrivenich from Pennsylvania was your Greco champ. Again, another weight class where it kind of looks open, right? Justin Avila of Iowa is your only returning All-American, and he was a Greco All-American a year ago. So we have to base some of this on what we've seen from the duels and things like that. Tyrell Miller wrestled really well from Ohio. Ricky Erickson from Illinois. Angelo Posada from California. And Max Nevlin from New Jersey all wrestled super, super well. I've watched every single one of them wrestle. And then I threw a couple names at the bottom. 160, I don't want to say it's an easy weight class because it's not by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not 113 and it's not 120. It's not those weights where, man, we go 20, 25 deep. In 160, we have an opportunity. Avery May, Matthew Van Wettering, from Georgia, Jacob Barlow from Tennessee. If they can wrestle well and be very competitive, get through some wins and win some tough matches, they have an opportunity, because 160 is not the deepest weight. There's an opportunity to make the top 8 at 160. All right, 170. Last year's champ, Gabe Arnold from Georgia. Oscar Williams was the champion from Oklahoma and Greco. And yeah, we get 3 All-Americans returning, led by Peyton Westfall from Missouri, freestyle All-American a year ago. You got Hudson Rogers and Luis Mendoza were both Greco All-Americans a year ago. And then again, just like 160, it kind of opens up a little bit. We have an opportunity to look at some names and understand who has a shot to really make a run. Jerome Miller Jr. from Ohio had a great duels. I'm almost positive it was the cadet duels, the 16U duels that I watched him compete in. He was dominant. You've got Esplin Swears from Wisconsin, Adrian Reyes from California, Sir Friday from Arizona. A lot of different names, a lot of opportunities. I threw on Mason Parsons from South Carolina on there. Mason, one of the things I like about, I love it when kids go and compete a year ago, and Mason did, and he didn't have a great tournament in Fargo a year ago, but that experience should serve him very well this time around in 16Us as he goes and competes. I think he might have gone and competed in junior duels. South Carolina didn't take a 16U duels team, so getting that level of competition should serve him well as he tries to make an impact here. All right, 182 champion freestyle was Camden McDaniel from Ohio, Greco, Cody Merrill from California. Both are gone. Your top 182 has got to be Aiden Sinclair from Wisconsin, ranked number 5 at 182. He is a 16U freestyle All-American, and he has simply wrestled outstanding. I mean, Sinclair has sought out the best competition around, and it's just in my opinion of watching him compete against the other 16Us at 182, I have to think that he is probably the favorite heading into Fargo. Doesn't mean it's gonna be easy. VZ from Indiana is not ranked, but is both a freestyle and Greco All-American. I believe he beat Georgia's Omari Alvarez last year in a wild one to make the podium. So definitely someone to keep an eye on. And Rocco Delegata from New Jersey is ranked number 13 at 195. According to the USA Wrestling rosters, the last time I checked, he was also on the list. So I think those 3 are probably kind of there. And then you might have some separation. That doesn't mean that someone below doesn't have an opportunity to make an impact. But, Sinclair he's just wrestled super well. So it's going to take a special effort by one of these names down below to break into the top 3, in my opinion. But they all have an opportunity to definitely make the podium, which is, for me, what I would think would be the goal, at least at the moment. If you haven't been onto the podium before, getting onto the podium first and foremost is super important. Everybody wants to win. I get being on the top step, definitely. But making the podium is a huge accomplishment. So you see Adam Waters from Pennsylvania, Kobe Merrill, who is, I believe, the younger brother of Cody Merrill, is also on that list. You see Matt King from Washington. And then you see a trio of Southeast wrestlers that I think have a real shot to compete and get on the podium. Jake Stacy from Tennessee, Brock Hacker from Georgia, and Kason Howell from South Carolina. Once again, weight classes matter, the brackets matter. 182, 185 as we go up, 160, 170 as we go up. They're not easy, but they're not 113 and 120. So, there's an opportunity that exists. Whether we take advantage of that opportunity and break through and make onto the podium, it's still going to be a tough chore. It's still going to be a thing that's difficult to do. So They're going to need to come in and wrestle extremely well if they're going to make the top 8. All right, jump into 195. And both Max McAnally from Minnesota and Sawyer Bartelt from Florida won a year ago. Both are now, I know Sawyer, at the very least, is up at juniors. And then if you look down below, there's not a single returning All-American in the list, right? So that doesn't mean it's a free-for-all and anybody can win, but it does mean that no one has established themselves, and partly nobody has established themselves. Some of these haven't established themselves because it's their first year at 16Us. So it's their first opportunity to make an impact. But for me, as I look at it, and from what I've watched previously, the top 3, Ross from Iowa, Carey from Missouri, and Michael Mako from Florida, have got to be amongst the favorites to make the podium, first and foremost, and then make a run for the top step. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody below isn't better than them. I just haven't necessarily seen them compete and don't have that understanding of Ross, Carey, and Mako in relationship to somebody below. But I have watched Ross, Carey, and Mako compete, and I do feel confident enough in saying that I think that they're going to be in the hunt. Down below, you'll notice that there are a couple of Alabama wrestlers, Mason Ellis and Cole Carter, as well as Riley Hux from South Carolina, in a weight class that appears to be more wide open, just like 182. If you can make the most of your opportunities, you might be able to fight your way onto the podium. So good luck to those 195-pounders as we jump to 220. And Cole Hopke from Wisconsin was a double champ a year ago, both in freestyle and Greco. And like 182 with Aiden Sinclair, I think that it's pretty evident that your favorite is Nicholas Sahikin from California. I probably butchered that name. Sorry about that, Nicholas. He's ranked number 16 at 220. He is a returning both freestyle and Greco All-American. He is the only returning All-American from what I could find, and he wrestled lights out. He wrestled really well a year ago in Fargo. I've seen him wrestle a couple other times. So definitely has to be, I would think, the favorite heading in. I've watched Ryland Kuhn from Missouri compete, Ian Winchester from Pennsylvania compete. Definitely 2 to keep an eye on. And then we got 2 at the bottom with Trey Butler from Georgia and Elijah Van Sickle from Florida. I believe Butler lost to Nicholas last year in Fargo. So as a returning 16U at 220, having had that experience wrestling somebody who did make the podium, he knows where the level is. So I think that both of them, but especially Trey Butler, has a real opportunity to break through and push through and make the podium at 220. All right, 285, our last group. Double champ, again, Navarro Shunky from South Dakota. And what we see here is our only returning All-American, and that was in Greco, is Alabama's Willie Cox. And Willie has wrestled exceptionally well this year. He went and wrestled at Elite 8, had some good matches, some tough losses. He went and I think went unbeaten at cadet duels, and then took a few lumps at junior duels, took a few losses. But again, seeking out the competition up a level against, older, more experienced, so on and so forth, is probably only going to serve him well. And he has got to come in as one of the few favorites. And for me, the other 2 favorites are Samson Stillwell of Missouri and Aaron Reese of Ohio. Stillwell, I think, was unbeaten at cadet duels. Reese, I saw wrestle from Ohio. Both are super tough. Again, many of the names below, they pop up because they won a region, because of some past accolades and things like that. But I haven't really watched them wrestle, so I don't really have a good sense of where they stand in relationship to Cox, Stillwell, and Reese, who I have seen compete. One name at the bottom of that list is Jacob Levy from Georgia. Definitely has an opportunity with 7-1 at cadet duels. Only loss was to Stillwell. And yeah, he should be in the hunt. Who is able to fight through and make the podium in 16U at 285 will be super, super interesting. I think that from 160 on up, it really opens up. And if a wrestler can come in and really compete and wrestle well, the opportunities exist. Not that the opportunities don't exist down at 6 and 113 and 120, but the weight classes are both deeper in terms of the number that there are, and number two, the number of accolades. I mean, you have returning champions in Anthony Knox and Leo DeLuca, and runners-up and Sam Herring, and so on and so forth. So, the depth of competition down at those lower weights is superb. And if you can tune in and watch, those quarters and semis and finals in 16Us, especially down low, whether it's with Southeast wrestlers or it's not, it'll be a treat, because those should be some fantastic matches. Want to wish all the 16U men the best of luck. I'm hoping that the Southeast and each of the states do exceptionally well. I'm looking for a lot of coasters or stop signs coming back to the Dirty South in a week's time. All right. Hope you guys have safe travels up there, and it's going to be a great one. Take care. Bye.